Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to talk about a concept that feels, I don't know, incredibly abstract, until it breaks. And then suddenly it is the only thing you can think about. We're talking about glue.
Glue.
Okay.
Not the kind you used in kindergarten art class, I'm assuming?
No, not that kind. We're talking metaphorical glue.
Yeah.
The digital adhesive. If you look at the modern internet, or really the modern tech stack inside any company today,
Right.
it's not just a bunch of standalone islands anymore. It's this massive, sprawling machine made of different parts all stitched together. You've got cloud storage talking to your email, which talks to your CRM.
Which pings your Slack, which triggers your AI models.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an ecosystem. And the glue holding all those disparate pieces together is automation software.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into what happens when that glue, when it becomes toxic. We are looking specifically at n8.
Pronounced n8n.
Yes, n8n. If you're in the DevOps or automation space, you definitely know them. They're a huge player in the open source world.
Oh, absolutely. Companies use them to build these really complex workflows that connect, everything. Internal services, external apps, massive AI models.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. It's effectively the nervous system for a lot of companies. It decides when data moves, where it goes, and how it gets processed. It's the traffic controller.
But today, February 5th, 2026, that nervous system is having a very, very bad day.
To put it mildly.
We have a fresh report detailing a critical security crisis that has just hit n8n. And the twist here, it's not just that there's a bug.
Right. Software has bugs. That happens.
The twist is that this vulnerability explicitly bypasses a fix that was released just 2 months ago.
And that is the when the fix fails scenario. It is a security researcher's absolute nightmare.
Why is that?
It means you thought you were safe, you did the work, you patched, and it didn't matter.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly what went wrong. We're going to look at how a critical patch from December didn't actually close the door and why this specific flaw puts high-value AI credentials at massive risk.
Maybe more than any other type of breach we've discussed.
And also why researchers are calling this a silent threat.
And we should probably talk about why this keeps happening to these low-code tools specifically. There's a pattern here.
Absolutely, because honestly, the details here are enough to make any CTO lose sleep. So let's jump into the timeline, because that's really where the irony sets in. Take us back to late last year, December 2025.
Okay, let's set the scene. December 2025, AHEN discovers a massive vulnerability. It was tracked as CVE-2026-25049.
And this wasn't a minor bug, right?
No, this wasn't a minor update your preferences bug. This was a heavy hitter. It had a near-perfect severity score.
Near perfect in the bad way, like a 10 out of 10 on a pain scale.
Exactly. 10 is bad. This was right up there. So the team at AN did the responsible thing. They disclosed it, patched it, put safeguards in place. The community updated.
Everyone breathed sigh of relief. Crisis averted.
That was the assumption. But today, February 5th, a new flaw has been disclosed. This one is CVE-2026-25049. And effectively, it looks at those safeguards from December, laughs, and just walks right past them.
So it's like locking the front door, feeling safe, and then realizing the burglar just walked through the wall.
Or realized you left the window open right next to the door. The core issue here comes down to a concept called expression sanitization.
Okay, let's unpack that. Expression sanitization. To a layperson, that sounds like cleaning up your language. What does it mean in a coding context?
So the magic of n8n, the reason people love it, is that it's not just drag and drop. It allows users to write expressions.
Little snippets of code.
Exactly. Little snippets of code, usually JavaScript, that tell the workflow exactly what to do. Like take this customer name from the email, capitalize it, and stick it into the database.
Right, the custom logic. That's what makes the automation actually useful and not just a toy. You need that flexibility.
You do. But here's the security paradox. Allowing users to run code on your server is inherently dangerous. If I can run code to format text, can I also run code to, say, delete your hard drive?
Theoretically, yes. Code is code.
So the software tries to sanitize that input. It acts like a bouncer at a club. It checks the code before running it.
Looking for dangerous commands, system calls.
Exactly. Things that shouldn't be there. It's supposed to scrub out the bad stuff and only let the safe logic through.
And I'm guessing the bouncer got distracted?
The bouncer got outsmarted. The new vulnerability allows an authenticated user to smuggle malicious code past those checks. Even though the system thinks it's cleaning the input, the attackers found a way to structure the code so that the bad parts just slip through.
And the score on this new bug is a 9.4 out of 10. That's critical.
It is. 9.4 is extremely high. But what's fascinating and terrifying is that some researchers involved are arguing that the real-world impact is actually worse than that score suggests.
Worse than 9.4? That barely leaves any room on the scale. How does it get worse?
Well, a CVSS score. That number, it's calculated based on technical complexity. How hard is it to hack? Does it require a login? But the real impact comes down to what you can actually do once you're inside, and that brings us to the access level.
Right, because the report emphasizes this requires authenticated user. And I think for a lot of people, even some managers, hearing authenticated user makes them relax a little.
It does. They think, oh, well, a random hacker on the internet can't get in. It has to be someone with a login.
Which sounds safer.
And that is an incredibly dangerous assumption to make in 2026.
Why? Break that down for us.
2 reasons. First, authenticated user in n8n doesn't just mean admin. In many organizations, that just means anyone on the team who has permission to create a workflow. It could be a junior developer, a marketing analyst.
A contractor even.
A contractor. So the barrier to entry is actually pretty low. It's not the CEO's password, it's the intern's password.
Okay, that makes sense.
And second, and this is the big one, hackers don't always break in through the front door anymore. They steal keys. If a hacker compromises the laptop of that marketing analyst or phishes their credentials,
Suddenly, the hacker is the authenticated user.
they are. So if I'm an attacker and I get the login credentials of that intern, suddenly I have the keys to the castle.
You have the keys to the universe. Ilon Cohen from Pillar Security, they're one of the groups that found this, he put it very bluntly. He said, if you can create a workflow in n8n, you can own the server.
Own the server. That is a definitive phrase.
It's the game over phrase.
Okay, but we need to contextualize owning the server. Because if I own a print server, I can, print stuff? Waste some paper. Why is owning an n8n server so different?
Because of what lives on that server. An n8n is an automation hub. It's specifically designed to hold credentials. Think about it. For n8n to be useful, what does it need?
It needs to log into my other services. It needs access. Exactly. To make the automation work, you have to give n8n your API keys. You plug in your OpenAI keys, your Anthropic credentials, your AWS account access, your Stripe keys.
It's a treasure chest. It is literally a vault of keys.
It is the central repository of your most sensitive digital assets. If an attacker exploits this, they can steal all of those keys.
Yeah.
Dump the database, decrypt the credentials, and now they aren't just in your automation server.
They're in your bank account, your cloud infrastructure, your customer database.
Everything. But it gets worse, doesn't it?
It does, especially with AI. We talk a lot about AI security. How does this play into that?
This is where it gets sci-fi scary. Think about what those workflows are doing. They're often processing data in real time. If an attacker controls the server, they don't just have to steal data.
Right.
They can intercept and modify AI interactions as they happen.
Whoa. So they could be sitting in the middle of a business process.
Yes. Imagine a workflow that processes customer support tickets using an AI model. Read customer complaint, generate polite response, send email. An attacker could theoretically modify the prompts being sent to the AI.
They could inject prompt injection attacks directly into your internal flow.
Or modify the answers coming back. They
Yeah.
could have the AI promise refunds that don't exist, or send malicious links to customers, or just act inappropriately to damage your brand.
All while the workflow appears to be running normally on the dashboard.
Precisely. That is terrifying.
It's not just theft, it's manipulation. It is gaslighting your own company's processes.
And because these tools are used to connect internal systems, once you're inside n8n, you can often pivot to other internal systems that aren't even exposed to the internet.
It's a beachhead.
It's a beachhead.
Yeah.
You land on n8n, and you invade the rest of the network from there.
I want to get a little technical for a second, just so we understand the mechanics here. We talked about expression sanitization failing. How are they actually doing this? The report mentions something called a proof of concept from Secure Layer 7.
Right, so Secure Layer 7 demonstrated exactly how this works. And it's pretty clever. They set up a workflow using a public webhook.
Just a quick refresh. A webhook is basically just a URL that triggers an action, right? Like a doorbell for a server.
Correct. And usually public webhooks don't require authentication to trigger. That's the point. They just listen for signals. So the attacker sets up this workflow. Then inside the JavaScript expression, They insert a command using a technique called destructuring.
Destructuring. I remember that from my brief stint trying to learn React. That's a standard JavaScript term.
It is. And in simple terms, destructuring is just a way to unpack values from an object. It's a legitimate, clean coding practice.
So why is it a weapon here?
Because the bouncer, the sanitization filter, didn't recognize that specific way of asking for things as dangerous. The attackers used destructuring to access the process object, or the child process module in Node.js.
Ah, and child process is what lets you run system commands.
Exactly. They tricked a filter. The
Oh,
filter
yeah.
saw, oh, they're just unpacking some variables. That looks harmless. But in reality, they were unpacking the ability to execute shell commands.
That is clever. It's using the language's own syntax against the security filter.
It really is. And the scary part of their proof of concept is that once they set up this webhook with the malicious code, anyone who has that webhook URL can execute commands on that server.
So they essentially turn the automation tool into a remote control for the server.
That's a great analogy. Yes. They build a backdoor that just looks like a normal workflow.
Now, we've been talking mostly about the self-hosted version, where a company runs n8n on their own servers. But there's also n8n Cloud, the hosted version. Does this affect them too?
It does. And the implications there are potentially even messier. Pillar Security highlighted the risk of multi-tenant architecture.
Multi-tenant just means multiple customers are running on the same hardware, right? Like living in an apartment building versus a standalone house.
Right. And the fear here is that if a single malicious user can exploit this flaw within that hosted environment, they might potentially be able to access other customers' data.
That is the nightmare scenario for any SaaS provider, the cross-tenant breach.
It is. The separation between customers is supposed to be absolute. But if you can execute code at the system level, you might be able to break out of your apartment and walk into your neighbor's living room.
Or at least listen through the walls.
Exactly. Now, to be clear, n8n has patched their cloud version, obviously, but the fact that the vulnerability existed there creates a huge question mark about what data might have been exposed before the fix.
One of the things that really struck me in the report was the description of this as a silent threat. We touched on this, but can we go deeper? Why is this so hard for security teams, the defenders, to catch?
This is the stealth factor. Think about a ransomware attack. It's loud. You know you've been hit because your screen turns red and demands Bitcoin.
Or a DDoS attack. Your site crashes, can't miss them.
Right, those are noisy. But this is espionage. The workflows continue to run. The dashboard shows all green lights.
But the patient looks healthy.
The patient looks great. The business process doesn't stop. The AI still answers questions. The emails still get sent. But in the background, a shadow process is siphoning off data, or keys are being copied to an external server.
It's the worst kind of breach because you don't even know you're bleeding.
Exactly. Unless you are meticulously auditing your outgoing network traffic logs, which, let's be honest, most teams aren't doing perfectly, you would never know.
And this isn't an isolated incident, right? It feels like we're seeing a trend with these automation tools. The report mentions another bug called n8n, spelled with an 8.
Nightmare. You have to admit, the marketing teams are having fun with these names.
Terrifying bug, though.
Yes, that was recent. And it was an unauthenticated remote code execution flaw. That one exposed about 100,000 servers. It allowed attackers to take over without even logging in.
So we had Nightmare, which was the wide open front door, and now we have this authenticated bypass. It really feels like these automation platforms have a target painted on their backs.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And if you think like an attacker, it makes perfect sense. Why spend weeks trying to hack into a bank's vault door, which is reinforced and monitored, when you can just hack the guy who holds all the keys?
The automation platform is the key holder.
It's the ultimate high-leverage entry point. Breach one tool, just one, and you get access to SaaS, internal databases, cloud infrastructure, and AI models all at the same time.
It's the most efficient hack imaginable.
It is. We're building these super efficient systems for work.
And inadvertently building super efficient systems for hackers.
Efficiency cuts both ways.
So if you're listening to this and you use n8n or really any similar automation tool, because these principles apply broadly, you're probably sweating a little bit. What do we do? What are the immediate action items here?
First and foremost, patch right now. Do not finish your coffee. Patches for CVE-2026-25049 have been released. If you're running a self-hosted version, you need to update immediately.
Treat it as a fire drill. Don't wait for the weekend maintenance window.
Yes, but this is critical patching is just step one.
Right, because if they stole the keys yesterday and you patch the hole today, they still had the keys.
Correct. Patching closes the hole in the wall, but it doesn't kick out the burglar who's already inside, and it certainly doesn't change the locks on the doors he stole keys for.
So we have to rotate credentials.
You have to assume the worst. If your system was vulnerable, you must assume your keys are compromised. You need to rotate everything. Your OpenAI API keys, your AWS access tokens, your database passwords, anything that n8n had access to.
That sounds like a massive headache, an operational nightmare.
It is a massive operational headache. Things will break, integrations will stop working until you update them. But the alternative is leaving valid keys in the hands of attackers who know exactly how to use them.
It's painful but necessary pain.
And then there's the governance piece. We talked about authenticated users.
The anyone can be an admin problem.
This is the longer-term fix. Security teams need to audit who actually has permission to create and modify workflows. In many startups, everyone gets admin access because it's just easier. Move fast and break things.
We're too fast and leak everything.
Exactly. You need to restrict that access. Does the marketing intern really need to be able to write raw JavaScript executions? Probably not. We need to apply the principle of least privilege to these low-code tools.
It really highlights the double-edged sword of these platforms. They make it so easy to build things, but they also make it easy to build security holes.
And they abstract away the complexity. People forget that underneath the friendly, colorful interface, it's just executing raw code on a server. It feels like a simple productivity tool, but it's a powerful computing environment.
It's a Ferrari engine inside a Fisher-Price car body.
And if you don't treat it with respect, it will crash.
And as we integrate AI more deeply, that environment becomes even more critical. We aren't just connecting databases anymore, we're connecting decision-making engines.
We are handing these tools the ability to think and act on our behalf. Securing the pipes that connect them is just as important, maybe more important, than securing the AI models themselves.
Right.
If the pipe is poisoned, the water is bad, no matter how pure the source is.
That is a strong image. We started with the idea of glue, and it turns out the glue is, well, it's potentially dissolving under our feet.
Or flammable.
Flammable glue. Great. Just what we needed in 2026.
But look, the takeaway isn't don't use automation. We can't go back to manual data entry. The takeaway is respect the automation. Treat it as critical infrastructure, because that's what it is.
Yeah. It's not just a utility, it's a backbone.
It's a backbone. So to recap before we go, n8n has a critical vulnerability, CVE-2026-25049. It bypasses the December fix. It allowed authenticated users to execute code on the server, potentially stealing all your API keys. The fix is out, update now.
And rotate your keys.
And rotate your keys, and keep an eye on your logs. Even after patching, vigilance is key. Look for outgoing traffic to IP addresses you don't recognize.
It's ironic, isn't it? The tool designed to automate our lives and make everything faster has become a critical liability that requires us to stop everything and manually fix it.
That is the paradox of efficiency. The more interconnected we are, the more fragile the connections become.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. We spend so much time worrying about our passwords, making them long, adding special characters, using 2FA. We worry about the lock on the front door.
But we rarely think about the plumbing.
Exactly. How often do you worry about the security of the pipes connecting your favorite AI tools? If that invisible layer breaks? If the glue fails? Do we even know how to operate manually anymore? Or are we just stuck waiting for the patch?
That is the uncomfortable question.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Stay safe, patch your systems, and check your webhooks. We will catch you next time.